Oh, is this thing on? Check 1, 2. FedEx says. I see Christopher Whitlock in chat. Is it on? Check 1, 2. Audio check. Let me know if it's coming through nice and clear. I see Space Tacos, Chris Whitlock,
pull up the
and others going to be dropping in. Well, it is that time, ladies and gentlemen. It's 5 o'clock my time, which, to dox myself, I am happy in Colorado for now. Who knows what could happen in the next few weeks or few months. You are tuning into Slay Security Plus, the collaborative, community-driven live stream that I founded when I got into cybersecurity as a way to give back to the community and teach Security Plus absolutely free using top-tier industry resources. So make it easy for you so you don't have to go everywhere to find them. Live inclusive study. Tonight, we're going to be crushing Domain 4 security operations. It's one of those areas of cybersecurity that unless you've been behind the keyboard in some capacity, some of these questions can be a little bit daunting to you. And so we're going to be covering Security Operations Center. I am joined tonight by my co-host, Casually Joseph, aka Joseph from Barricade Cyber Solutions. He is gracious enough to grace us with his presence. He is one of our co-hosts of Slay Security Plus, but also he is extremely busy right now with life stuff. I came down with some kind of wicked virus where I can get about 10 sentences in and then I have to stop and take a deep breath, which is unlike me. If you know, I'll talk until I'm blue in the face. So
yeah, but right now you're literally talking until you're blue in the face. So
yeah, only after a few sentences. Did Joseph lose his H? Nah, Joseph.
Joseph. That's
Joseph. We go by many names. Hey, Gil, welcome to the party, pal. Hey, Marcelo, 1231. If this is your first time on Slay Security Plus, please let us know in chat. I don't have the cool sound effects yet to greet everybody, but we will soon. I see DJ BSEC. Oh, yeah, I see how it is.
He's trying to bust my chops.
He is trying to bust your. Well, because we just know
you missed out.
Oh, Justin Gold, the proprietor and creator of the Security Plus, aka Slay Security Plus Discord. What's up, Justin? Throwing on some Magic, man. I'm dying to play some Magic the Gathering. I haven't played in a minute. Been crushing.
I need too many wild cards. I need too many.
People are like, all right, I see the numbers just dropping. They said Magic the Gathering. People are hopping off. Yeah. Tonight's beverage sponsor is tea. I've got a positive energy here and some Echinacea elderberry. Hoping to crush this little bug we got going on. Checking out chat real quick. These hard chargers, that's right. We go live, we go hard, no matter what. I see Native Brave Skunk 12, first timer to Slay Security Plus. Welcome to the party, pal. Hope you enjoy and get value out of what we're going to go over tonight. We're going to probably start off with some questions. What is the lay of the land of Slay Security Plus? Well, what we do is we do live study. We use the Vivox app, which we will get into. One of the things that I get asked, I get DM'd once in a while, is kind of how to study for Security Plus. And there are a lot of videos already out there. Pete Zerger from Inside Cloud and Security does a great video. I always recommend, and you can write this down, you can put this on Team Replay, take a pre-test, take a practice test, just see where you're at. Even if you haven't watched any Security Plus videos, you haven't really maybe immersed yourself. I used to teach immersion, but I think that can be overwhelming. I like to start off with just a practice test. Professor Messer has the best ones in the business, in my humble opinion. I've heard that from many, many others. They are the closest in difficulty and syntax and context, which is, there's a ton of practice questions out there, and they could be Security Plus questions. CompTIA has a speak. They have a syntax. They have a way that they write these questions. Professor Messer's crew has done that the absolute best. I have purchased the Udemy ones from Dion. I've purchased the free exam Compass ones. I've gone through the ones that go in just about every book you can. I've purchased as many as I can to test them against the Professor Messer stuff, and they hold water, man. They are the best. So I recommend, I think, Joseph, you probably feel the same way, is just take a practice test. Identify where those weak spots are instead of trying to be like, I'm going to study Security Plus. And so you try and like read everything in here and you get yourself overwhelmed, you get yourself burnt out, and you take the test a year later because you try to just soak all this information up. Take a practice test of some kind. The Professor Messer ones are great, $30. See where your weaknesses are and then target training those weaknesses. And then take that practice test again. And as you do this targeted training through videos, through coming to live study sessions, excuse me, you're going to notice that your knowledge of Security Plus and cybersecurity is going to increase, therefore killing imposter syndrome. Because how do you get rid of imposter syndrome? You find your weaknesses and you freaking crush them, right? That's what you do. We're going to jump right into some questions, right into some Security Plus questions, and then we'll take a break when we talk about our show sponsor. And then I'm going to give to you, at least I'll share my screen with some resources so you can go, I don't know where to start. Where do you get this information from? What's a risk management profile? What is CIS? What is NIST? What's pen testing? What are these things that we do, and why does it matter? And how do I hear about it, but what does it look like in context? We're going to go over some of that stuff tonight. Yosef says, yo, I'm trying to take Slay. That's first cert I need. Can you put a link for practice test? Absolutely.
I dropped the link to the. Well, I don't know. It looks like it went through. I dropped the link to Professor Messer's.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But I don't know of any free practice tests. Do you?
Yeah, there are the Exam Compass ones, and they're pretty good. If you want to pay money, they're $30. Again, the Professor Messer are the best in the biz for $30. You can't beat that. If you have a hard time, you really want those tests and you cannot afford them, please reach out to me. We do have a small fund that we are putting together, that we have put together. I don't want to dox anybody that's in chat, but we have some community members that said, I want to help get practice tests and resources into the hands of the people that need them. So we do have a small fund put away. If you need practice tests, please reach out to me. We'll find a way to get them to you. And if you have reached out to me and I haven't reached back out to you, man, cybersecurity professional with kids, and I do lose track of messages. So just find me and DM me on LinkedIn or Discord, and I'll make sure you get those resources.
YouTube
Josh
Maddox, link, by the way. If you check the private chat, can you drop that?
Yep, got it. Got it. Copy link.
YouTube doesn't like it when you drop links, and you're not a mod.
I need to make you an official mod. You are. You're a co-host, so you should be. We'll get that taken care of. I'm dropping this link in chat. This is the Professor Messer questions, and then our buddy Josh Madakor. I already have that pulled up. I'm going to share this with you all here. 1, 2, 3, share. The Josh Madakor stuff. Josh Madakor is very similar to kind of what we do here at Slay Security Plus. Passionate about getting people free, high quality training materials, home labs. Check out joshmadakor.tech. Free certification practice tests. They're basically, I think they're like Anki cards or like a Quizlet type of thing. But look, he's cards? Anki, AHNKI. I believe it's okay. Japanese for a flashcard or something. I need to Google what Anki is. I think it's a Japanese word. He does the CISP A+, Net+, CISA Plus, and Security Plus practice tests. For all of the free ones I found, I like Josh Madakor is the best thus far. Messer is good, but I feel like he just reviews, doesn't teach. Michael Lortz, the thing is, the reason it probably doesn't feel like teaching is because he's reviewing a study guide, and CompTIA kind of assumes that you are coming into it with some skill sets already, and that you're really just kind of refreshing them, excuse me, or polishing them up. And so, yeah, I could see how you could feel that, but it is review. CompTIA does expect you to have at least a Net+, A+ knowledge set coming into the test. So, you can master security basics. Here's some examples, if it'll let us.
I think they're asking for the.
Oh my gosh! 1 second. My partner unplugged my Ethernet cable. Give me a second, folks.
Now you're left with me.
Talk amongst yourselves.
I mean, I don't even know what to talk about. I've been left with. I don't even have any study materials, so we can just sit here and talk. We got any good questions? Any good wins recently?
Jesus Christ says, what do you think of the ISC2CC certification? Here's my beef. I have a lot of beefs, and my beef with that certification is that it claims to be a free cert. It is free to take it, but then after that, you get locked into the $50 a year ISC2 fee. The CC is a great way to get familiarized with concepts. It's a great way, just like Security Plus, to get a good high-level, vendor-neutral understanding of Security Plus or entry-level cybersecurity. The reason that I stick so firmly with teaching Security Plus or reviewing Security Plus concepts is because really the Security Plus exam is that one that HR looks for. They just don't look for CC. I'm sorry, they don't. You may find once you get through that door, the hiring manager or whoever you talk to, you can have conversations about getting CC, but it's not being scanned in ATS filters. Like nobody's going, man, I hope this person has CC. If you look, almost every job description, even the crazy ones, they usually at least say Security Plus. I just highly recommend you get it, put it in your belt and go. So here's the Josh Madakor stuff, and it's good. It's not really the multi-sentence structure, but it gets you thinking, right? What does a protocol analyzer do in a SIM system? Right? So these are just straightforward questions. Oh, I got it right. Yay! I know things about cyber. Let's go. Go figure. All right, so the free, I like these a lot. And then, of course, Professor Messer stuff. Little bit of review for the people that are just getting here.
So to answer FedEx's question, yes, I did take my Sec Plus. I took it last year in November, and I got like a 790-ish. And Space Tacos, two things. I'm still doing my old vulnerability management with Barricade, so same old, same old. I haven't really changed much of what I'm doing there. I have been working on marketing material though, so that's been interesting. Definitely not something I'm trained for, but I'm like tapping it in some high school classes. I took a lot of arts and photography, so I've been helping with that. And that interview on Simply Cyber earlier was nuts. It was so great. I love hearing all the things I've been studying get mentioned by this pro.
Dude, you were getting fired up on mod chat. I was like, oh man, Joseph's gonna blow a gasket. I love seeing people get fired up about cybersecurity. I love it when you can connect with a teacher, a mentor, somebody that's been in the game, and you just find these connections, right? I think it's awesome. Jesus Christ says, if Sec Plus is more of a review or at least is a little bit deeper than you're ready for, what would you recommend to start at the very beginning if you know nothing about security? This is where I'm going to land. This is the hill that I'm going to die on. Other people in chat are going to have other opinions. This is what worked for some of the other students we've had. And as I was refreshing my IT security and my IT background, this is what I used. Professor Messer, it's absolutely free. He takes you through A+, which is really kind of the beginning, talking about like your help desk type of things. So, you know, cabling and just computer tech stuff if you're in that hardware area. If you're really looking to get into cybersecurity, I would say go through his video series of at least Networks Plus, right? The free Network Plus videos. And then do the Security Plus videos. You'll just kind of immerse yourself. So get on LinkedIn, just immerse yourself in cybersecurity, in IT, and you're going to pick things up. You're going to store them in your tool bag, and then you're going to use them on the job, and you're going to use them maybe in other jobs. Maybe you work at a grocery store, or maybe you work in the restaurant business, or maybe you're a welder or something. I promise you there is something in information security, cybersecurity, whatever you want to call it, that you can take with you to every job that you're working, right? James Barcia says the Professor Messer Success Bundle worth it. Let's see which one that is, because I want to make sure before I tell you. So the one that I got, this is the one that I paid for to use to teach, is I use the notes and the exams for $50. You save $10. And if you want the Success Bundle, it comes with the exams, the notes, the audio MP3 files, the exam hacks PDF, which, no offense, Professor Messer, but it's just what you already say in the beginning of your videos on paper format. So honestly, you need the exams and you need the notes. That's it. The MP3 files are great, but you can also just get on YouTube, download the video to your YouTube, and then watch them and not have to listen, and not watch, right? You can just listen to it. So $50 if you just want the exams, they're $30. If you just want the notes, they're $30. It doesn't get much cheaper than that for leading practice questions, and we're going to get into those. All right, enough jaw jacking. Excuse me, folks. You're going to be hearing that a little bit on and off tonight. We're going to jump right into some questions. Joseph, do you have anything for us?
Do I have anything for what?
Bueller? Hey, I see Matthew Hibbert. Oh, I just peeked a little bit. Hey, I see Matthew Hibbert in chat. Jenny Housley, welcome to the party, pal. I paid for nothing, says Agent 57. Oh, here's one. Here's like a testimony. Agent 57. I passed my A equals, or I'm thinking it meant A plus and Net plus with only Professor Messer videos and study groups. I got YouTube Premium to take the ads away, and I got 3 months for free too. Oh, Agent 57, you just brought up a good point. There is all this talk of free. Is it a free resource? Is it free? Is it free? Hey, I love free resources. And just because they're free doesn't always mean they're lesser, doesn't always mean they're better. Just because it's paid doesn't mean it's better. But there are certain things that comes with paying for a premium. Usually you're going to pay for the person's time, the energy, the resources, right? They got to host this stuff somewhere, like labs. I mean, you got to host it somewhere. And so I always recommend invest in yourself. Invest in that. Say, I'm going to slay Security Plus in 3 months. That's a good average time frame for the average person, even with a full-time job, that you can study if you dedicate yourself to it and you've got a strategic plan. You're not just trying to willy-nilly it. About 3 months. I saw an awesome video today about a guy who's saying he could do it in 2 weeks. You can totally do it in 2 weeks. And if you just want to get the cert to throw it on the HR and you just want to get out because you already have maybe experience or you don't really care, sure, you could crush it in 2 days, to be honest with you. It's all about memorizing these concepts and then spitting them back out in a test. So yeah, you can memorize it in 2 days. It's not going to do you any good in the long run. And let's say you pass Security Plus in 2 weeks and you don't get your first interview until 2 months and you haven't been reviewing, you haven't been doing labs. You're like, I got Sec Plus. I did it in 2 weeks. The hiring managers might have questions for you and you might not be able to answer them because you don't know. You don't know the concepts. You didn't do any home labs. You didn't set up any firewalls. You didn't set up any IDSs or SIMs and see what that's all about. So yeah, you can do it in 2 weeks. 3 months is about average. So get YouTube Premium for 3 months, pay for the Success Bundle, and get, Pocket Prep for 3 months, right? $20 a month or $60. Invest in yourself, and you pay for the exam. You come here for the live study sessions, and then you pass. And then you look at it, you put it behind you, and you invest in yourself. And if you're broke, I get being broke. Trust me, I get being broke. If you are broke, tell your friends and your family out there, get on LinkedIn, and hey, this is a community about helping each other. If you can't invest in yourself, somebody will invest in you. I promise you, there are people that will invest in your success.
And I would like to add, people talk about getting the Sec Plus in 2 weeks, and that's great. It's great. If you get it fast, good. If you understand what you've got done in 2 weeks, even better. Now, when you're actually working on the job, you use the fundamentals of the A and the Net Plus and the CCNA and more than you will ever realize that you did. And I'm still having to go back and relearn some fundamentals that I haven't touched in years, because maybe I learned it in freshman year and I've learned a dozen other things since then. PowerShell, oh man, it's not covered in Security Plus, but if you don't know it, learn it. PowerShell is a big thing. And even when there's things you hate, you have to learn them. Like, I do not like networking. I like networking as I'm talking to people. I love it. Networking as learning it, like getting things communicating, not because it's hard. I just don't like it. I'm not interested in making two devices talk. I'm interested in figuring out what's going on when they're talking. And learning skills like that, you're going to use them. Everything, especially in this remote world. So just get familiar with those fundamentals. Even if you pass the Sec Plus, you're going to be asked questions that are technical, deep technical. Play with your computer. If you have one, figure it. I mean, even if you don't have one, I know you can spin up VMs in AWS pretty cheap.
You can get you can get 3 months free of Azure services. Sign up for get yourself a Microsoft Azure account. Spin up. Don't worry about what computer you have, as long as you can get on the internet. And get yourself a Microsoft Azure account. Spin up all your VMs, all your virtual machines in the cloud. So you're getting cloud experience. Put on your resume, right? You're getting Azure experience, and you're getting virtualized experience. Hey, Margarita Gear on. What is going on?
But
real quick before we get into the questions. What's up,
Nope.
Joseph?
I said you will never stop learning your fundamentals over and over and over again. Everything's changing always. You're relearning your fundamentals every day.
Jesus Christ says, what would you recommend for home labs? Are home labs doable on an M series MacBook? I'm
Depends
sure
on
a
the
lot of them.
It depends on the M series.
Here's on the M series. I'm going to send this with you. This is a penetration testing mentor of mine, Benjamin Heater. He's a senior pen tester for a company, and he created a phenomenal. Okay, this is the SciSec Plus link, and then I'm dropping these home labs. Experiment. He's got a bunch of different labs you can do. This is the one that I set up and then added onto it. Hack it, and then if you want to, on the back end of this lab, set up a sim, a source sim type of thing, right? And then go back and start reviewing logs. It's say you're like, why don't we want to be a pen tester? Here's something, and I'm just gonna go on a quick soapbox, right? And it's not a buzzword. You need to think about cybersecurity holistically, especially as you move into 2024. What I mean by that is like, yeah, you can be passionate about pen testing. That's great. That's awesome. You can be passionate about digital forensics, incident response, SOC analyst, whatever your niche in cybersecurity is. I cannot stress having a holistic understanding of just how it works. What is an audit? How does the GRC component fit with pen testing? How does pen testing fit with digital forensics incident response? Simply Cyber's guest today, Elian Gibran said, so many pen testers don't make the greatest defensive security people because, yeah, we can hack all day long, but we're not really sure of some of the tracks that we're leaving behind. And so it's so important. Set up your labs, hack them, man, hack the planet, and then go back through and look at your logs. Look at those entries. Look at those Active Directory sign-ons. Look at those lockout attempts. And then maybe set up some controls and then try and hack again until it doesn't work. And you're going to find that you're just building this holistic view of cybersecurity to where you go into an interview, you can discuss looking at logs as well as you can discuss understanding how to read an Nmap readout and plug in all your automated tools and hack the system, right? Learn it all. Doesn't mean you have to be an expert at it all, but I cannot stress the importance of just having this holistic view of cybersecurity, right? Like, take that to the bank.
Sorry about that. I was doing a little research. I got a text message and I was like, "Oh, this seems
from your boss."
No.
Okay.
I think Eric's out right now. I just got a weird looking text message and I was like, "Am I getting phished?" And I was like, "No, that's legit."
No, that's just
somebody typing weird. They just type weird, and I'm like, could you not be so sus when you type? That'd be great.
Flatten now says, yeah, it seems like most people I study with want to be pen testers. Don't think it's for me though.
Oh man.
The most freeing thing in any industry or in anything in your life is when you realize what you're not. That is the most freeing thing. When you realize the things that don't make you tick, you can just scratch that off, right? Like, yeah, pen testing is sexy, but it's not the only area of cyber that is fulfilling and fun and exciting, right? Like, yeah, it's a blast hacking into systems and it's a blast pen testing, but it can be very limited. Do what makes you tick. What are the things that you're already interested in? All right.
Can we also, I want to get a little soapbox about pen testing. I know we're running a little late. Everybody that first get introduced to cybersecurity wants to be a pen tester because that's what you see in the movies. Elite hacks or clacking on the keyboard and breaking stuff, kicking doors in. There are more people in our field teaching people how to pen test than there are actual pen testers.
Preach. It's like,
I love it.
Pay $500 for my how to be a hacker webinar, but then you look at their experience and it's like no red team operations, no career in pen testing. Like,
what does Wade
being a legitimate penetration tester, especially in that mid and senior level, you need to know you're going to know what you're doing. You know what's going on under the hood, multiple operating systems, cloud technologies. Like, don't let people grift you on paying for things when they're not in the industry actively. That grinds my gears to no end when I see people trying to take money from the people just getting in the industry and they're not even working. They're not even doing the work.
Joseph, Wade Wells is a detection engineer or a CTI engineer. He uses threat intelligence, which analyzes the potential threats to your business and then looks at their TTPs, which are tactics, techniques, and procedures, to try and engineer detections in your SIEM, which is Security Information Event Manager, to make sure that when they do kick in the door, because they do kick in the door eventually, you'll be able to detect them before they get very far.
And so you're like, well, how do I get into that? There's a great TryHackMe has a great free room on critical, threat intelligence. Get to understand threat modeling. Maybe take a look at the MITRE attack framework and understanding how to look for indicators of compromise, match them up with what other threat actors are doing, and see if you can pinpoint if you have a compromise on your network and your system. And we're going to go through some of those resources too, for sure. Let's answer one more question, and then let's get into some questions. Are you cool with that, Joseph?
Yeah, I'm down.
Stubborn Blue says, for someone with no IT experience, what are the best entry-level jobs to suit for in cyber? Or is it better to start with an entry-level IT role?
That
Joseph.
Depends. Mileage may vary. It depends. I say this with all due respect. It depends on how technically adept you are already. If you are flying on the keyboard and you've got a good understanding of how networks work and you're really crunching away, then you could probably skip the IT step. I wouldn't, but you can probably skip it and you can go for entry level roles like GRC analyst or a risk analyst, vuln manager, or a SOC analyst. Those are all really friendly entry level security jobs. But personally, I went the help desk route. That was my trial by fire. I worked help desk for about a year. There are other entry-level IT roles that I would recommend. Like if you could go work for an internet service provider in like a networking room, oh man, you're gonna get
MSP or an MSSP, managed service provider. So I'll piggyback off Joseph. I did the end user support route. It wasn't help desk, but I did end user support, which I didn't think of it as security, but you're managing antivirus and you're helping provision Active Directory accounts, and you want to do that properly. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with starting at the help desk. Now, there's a lot of talk on LinkedIn that you don't need to start at help desk, and that's true. You don't
have to.
But there's nothing wrong. Have pride and be like, yo, I just got a job as an IT help desk. And that's killer. And you know what? Unless you need that to be your career money, because I understand that those roles don't always pay the money you need. If you can get an IT help desk analyst job, anything that's just in that field, you can just stick at it for 6 months to a year. The amount of knowledge that you're going to soak up and the connections you're going to make while in the industry are just going to take you farther, right? So there's nothing wrong with jumping on those help desk positions. I see a lot of people talk about GRC as a great place to start. It is a good place to start. You need to still understand the fundamental concepts of IT and IT security, even in GRC, right? You're still going to have conversations with a non-technical person. So you need to understand why you're telling them, hey, your PCI, a payment card industry, DSS, digital services, digital security services, right? You're out of PCI compliance. Well, what does that mean? That means that you're storing. So one of the things to be PCI compliant is you're not supposed to store cardholder information. Like that's a no-no. You're not supposed to store it, right? But if you don't understand what data at rest is, and you're like, well, your data at rest, and you're trying to talk people, you're trying to read off of whatever the framework that you're using word for word, they're going to look at you and they're going to laugh in your face because they're like, this person has no idea what they're actually talking about. Immerse yourself in IT. Jump on Hack the Bot. I mean, I cannot just immerse yourself in the industry. Be hungry. Don't settle for mediocrity. Shoot for the stars, and you got to be hungry, be passionate, ask questions, jump on live streams, ask questions. Let's go. I'm getting fired up. All right. This is how we answer questions here. Please, we're going to go through some questions I ask. Cellular Security Plus asked that you do not put any of the answers in chat. We use a live polling system called Vvox. And it totally is anonymous. We can't see who's putting in the answers or anything like that. Head over to vvox.app, and the ID we're using tonight is 115-848-372. If you're on your mobile device or you have a camera that you want to use, scan this QR code. I believe casually Joseph did run it, and it's a safe QR code. But it'll take you right to this. You don't have to fill out any like paywalls or give up any information. I believe it takes you right to the exam.
When the UAC pops up, just click yes. Don't mind the fact that your resources are being taken. We're joking. It's just going to the site.
Be cute. All right. Space tacos. Doesn't matter if we're hungry for tacos. Stop. You know, food gets me off. Like, I love food more than life itself. All right. I'm going to read this first one then, Joseph. If you would mind doing, we'll do every other one if you're cool with that.
Sure.
Cool. Thank you. All right, let's roll. A company's email server has received an email from a third party, but the origination server does not match the list of authorized devices. Which of the following would determine the disposition of this message? This is a heady question. SPF or Sender Policy Framework, NAC or Network Access Control, DMARC or Domain-Based Message Authentication Reporting and Conformance, or DKIM, Domain Keys Identified Mail.
This is tricky. And again, I remember mentioning this a couple of weeks ago. This was not on the 601. This is CYSA material.
Yeah, this is, and that's not to scare any of you, because I do believe that the 701 exam, the study resources and the exam, from what I've heard, is just a more well-written, a little bit more concise of a cybersecurity exam versus the 601.
Yeah.
Don't let that scare you away.
No, yeah, don't be scared. Just because it's a more advanced exam doesn't mean it's a more advanced question. I will tell you right now, I've been studying for the CYSA because I'm going to be taking my master's, and it's like the first class you get is the CYSA. Like a solid 45% of it is review from Sec Plus. So if you understand Sec Plus, you understand almost half of the CYSA. They all build on each other. That's the thing. That's CompTIA styles. They build on each other. Same with ISC2.
Flight School says, read the question one more time, please. A company's email server has received an email from a third party, but the origination server does not match the list of authorized devices. Which of the following would determine the disposition of this message? Let's start with one of them that stands out that is 100% not the correct answer. And this is something that I want us Security Plus slayers to get in the habit of doing, is read the whole dang question. Beep. Read the whole question. I have missed so many practice questions, and I know that I probably missed a ton when I took the actual exam, because you get about 3/4 of the way through and your brain wants to take over. It's like when somebody's talking to you and we go, yeah, I know what you're going to say, so I'm just going to finish it in my head. That will bite you on the butt in Security Plus. Read the whole question, because sometimes it's the last few words where the real question is, or the last few words kind of change the context of what the question is asking, which can really come back to get you. Well, let's look at the one that doesn't, right? We see NAC, or Network Access Control. That one does not stand out to me as a solution to this question, because we're talking about email servers. We're talking about something very specific. And in your studies of cybersecurity, the other three of these have to do with email specifically, whereas NAC, or Network Access Control, does not.
Yep.
When I think Network Access Control, I think devices that probably are or are not allowed to be on your network. 15 of the people that are playing tonight have answered. Let's roll through these questions. We're learning.
All right.
Joseph, take it away.
Yeah. So why is it DMARC? DMARC, as it is spelled out, domain-based messaging, authentication, reporting, and conformance. What does that mean, Joseph? That's a lot of words. It is a lot of words. Well, really, the only one you have to focus on is authentication. It goes and it checks. It says, hey, this email says it's from this guy or gal. Is it really from this domain? It checks and it looks against the domain and says, hey, that's not from this domain. And DMARC goes, nah. And it tosses it out, and it's saying that it's not legit, so it throws it out. Usually, I think is it DKIM or SPF that decides how it gets handled once the DMARC fails? I think
believe
it's
it's
DKIM.
DKIM.
It is. I think so. So DMARC, really the only letter you have to remember to know why it's doing things to the email is the A, authentication. Is this legitimate? Is this message legit?
Cat's Pajama says it's a received message. Haha, there's a keyword. It's a received message, so it couldn't be SPF if we are looking at word choice. That is 100% correct, right? It's a received message, which we know that sender policy framework, if we wouldn't have never received it if it was just SPF. So good catch on that, Cat's Pajamas.
Matthew Hibbert with some networking nerd knowledge. The DMARC as in with a physical point where the ISP connects to the building. Not quite. DMARC email, not DMARC networking.
All right, Joseph, take it away.
A security administrator has examined a server recently compromised by an attacker and has determined the system was exploited due to a known operating system vulnerability. Which of the following would best describe this finding? The root cause analysis, e-discovery, risk appetite, or data subject? Jesse, do you have any opinions on this one?
Let me read. I gotta read the question because you gotta read it a couple times.
Yeah.
The security administrator has examined a server recently compromised by an attacker and has determined the system was exploited due to a known operating system vulnerability. Which of the following would best describe this finding? Well,
so let's break it down. What we have is 2/3 fluff, 1/3 importance. A security administrator has examined a server recently compromised by an attacker. Not good. And has determined that the system was exploited due to a known operating system vulnerability. Now, it doesn't matter what he found. He's determining how something happened. So, what would be the best... how would you best describe what's happening?
Any more than that, you're going to give it away because that is like you just nailed it. Now, just like with this or the CISP or any of these other pop the bubble exams, there's always going to be at least one, if not two answers that you can look at and immediately go, yeah, that's not an option. Mm-hmm. The two there's three, but the two that really stand out to me are risk appetite, because we know that risk appetite has way more to do with risk analysis, risk management, how much risk is a company willing to bite the bullet on? How much are they willing to put out there? That really describes more of your risk appetite. We're not trying to find a operating system vulnerability. The data subject, that again is not really the realm that we're trying to satisfy here.
Data subject is a GDPR term, right?
I believe it is. Mm-hmm. And then we have e-discovery and root cause analysis. So those are the two that would stand out to me. We'll give everybody a couple more seconds. Remember, the CompTIA Security Plus has an upwards of 90 questions max, and you get only 90 minutes to answer them, roughly leaving you a minute per question. Does 701 spell out acronyms in the questions? This kills me in practice test. So bad practice test will not, a really poorly written practice test doesn't give you the acronyms. Some of them are there. I found though, and this hopefully will make you feel a little bit better, that when you're studying for Security Plus, there is a ton of acronyms, but there's only really a handful of them that get used a lot. I would focus on those ones that are getting used quite frequently. Obviously, try and learn them all, but there's going to be a few you're just going to see over and over and over again. Learn those. And honestly, when you're taking the exam, a lot of times the question will answer the acronym for you just by kind of what it's describing.
And I've also seen in practice tests and possibly on the real exam that if you have a question that has a bunch of acronyms and you're like, I don't remember these acronyms, sometimes you go further and you find other questions that do have the question or the acronym spelt out. And that could be the same way on the real test.
Exactly.
And to answer Cat's Pajamas, how many do you need to answer correctly to pass? I don't think CompTIA actually grades like that. They don't do an X out of 90. It's you start with 0 points, and for every one you get right, you build points.
Yeah, you
And
only
some are
get
weighted
points.
higher than others.
Yeah.
So you don't lose any points.
Yeah, you can't lose points for getting them wrong, but you don't get points for trying to get them correct. And some of the questions are
And some of them
partially graded,
you can get partial
right?
credit as well. So
And we do talk more about that with some of these questions, especially the ones where you see best or most, which should lead you to believe that there is a best and there's probably a better and a best option here. Root cause analysis. The goal of root cause analysis is to explain the ultimate cause of an incident. Once the cause is known, it becomes easier to protect against similar attacks in the future.
Yeah. So root cause analysis, actually, good little fun fact, I suppose, has nothing to do with the Security Plus. Root cause analysis is not actually always possible. You will come into environments sometimes, or maybe you are managing a network and an incident happens and there's no logs that you can use to prove or disprove what happened. Maybe the attacker deleted them. Maybe you don't have verbose enough logs to determine the root cause. And it's not fun saying you can't prove why something happened, but it is something that does happen sometimes. And it requires maintaining access and doing further research to see if you can figure out root cause eventually.
When I think e-discovery, I think of that process in the legal world of gaining, storing, and getting digital information to present really kind of like in legal proceedings, in court proceedings, that e-discovery is getting the electronic information that you're going to need for that court case.
E-discovery is definitely a legal thing, not illegal. It's a legal thing. You do e-discovery when there is data exfil. You do e-discovery when you are trying to find things on the internet, maybe about yourself. But e-discovery is a process where you look through files and you figure out what information those files hold. That's what it boils down to. You look through a bunch of data and figure out what that data is about. That's e-discovery.
Boom. Knowledge bombs. Thank you, Joseph. A security engineer is viewing this record from the firewall logs. Thank you for not making it vendor specific. We see here an alert, right? And if it's not on your screen, what the alert is saying is there's an antivirus gateway alert. There is a source IP address and a destination IP address. Highly recommend you get familiar, whether that's on Hands-On Labs, your own firewall logs, or try HackMe. Just get used to looking at these alerts and just kind of get used to reading them and sorting them through, right? We see xpack.a_7854 Trojan blocked, right? So this antivirus alert is telling you that a Trojan, that something might have happened, right? What's going on? Is it A, the victim's IP address is 136.127.92.171? Is it B, a download was blocked from a web server? Is it C, a botnet DDoS attack was blocked or distributed denial of service was blocked? Or is it D, the Trojan was blocked but the file was not? Let's look again at what.
I wish I could mark this up.
I know. Well, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Let's just open up RDP and let you just jump on.
Oh yeah. That's a phenomenal idea. While you're at it, point it at the internet. Get some free friends. They'll play Magic with you.
Let's look at the ones that are absolutely not correct. Well, it says the victim's IP address is 136.127.92.171. I believe that is actually the source, our attacker's IP address, right? So that's incorrect. Our victim's IP address is actually the 10.16.10.14.
And that would be a victim's local IP address.
Very good. And how does it get turned into a public IP address? What is that process called? What is that technology?
That would be network address translation, NAT.
NAT.
Now, it might not actually be a local address. The 10 dot range is used for locals a lot, but it could be a public one.
Anyway,
usually in a private one, you'll see 10.10.10. But I'll just push up my nerd glasses.
Technically speaking.
Yeah.
But then we see this other one, right? A DDoS attack was blocked. Well, there's nothing in this alert. Well, let's understand what is a DDoS attack, right? A distributed denial of service. You get a bunch of computers. Just don't forget about how you got them, whether they're on the internet or they're actually in your house, and you've turned them into bots, little zombies. And they are just going to send copious amounts of let's just say packets to a web server, and they're going to overwhelm it until it crashes. A denial of service attack. We're not seeing anything in this alert that leads us to believe that there's been a denial of service, right? We see blocked, we see the word Trojan. So it has to be either option B, which is a download is blocked from the web server, or option D, as in dog, the Trojan was blocked, but the file was not.
I'm gonna admit fault real quick. I misspoke. The 10 dot range is class A, so 10.0.0.0 would be the base mask. So that could be a local IP still.
/A.
Yeah, it would be a /8. I put that in chat. Sometimes I fumble my words. I can be wrong. I'm usually wrong.
Oh, Agent 57 makes another great point. Look at this. The attack, the IP is the attacker IP. It's not a botnet because it's a single logout from a log file. Then the file was blocked, so not the last one. Interesting view. I like it.
So let's break down how we can read this this log, because maybe some people haven't seen a log before. UTC stands for Universal Time Code. That is Greenwich Mean Time, which is in England. That would be the date 04/05/2023. Of course, here in America, 04 would be the month, whereas in other countries, 04 may be the day. You have 0309, and then you have the seconds to the, what is that, 10,000th? Not really that important, but of course the hour and minute would. It's usually done in 24-hour time, so this is 3 a.m. AV gateway alert. You have a source IP address, a source port, and then you have, and then you have the dash caret, or right caret, big crocodile, not little crocodile, to a destination. So you have a source to destination. And depending on the technology, it might show it different, but it's usually source to destination. Gateway antivirus alert, xpack.a, that's just the name of whatever is happening. So let's go ahead and bring up the answers before I go further.
I'm enjoying B-Sex banter here. Carl, block everything.
Quit downloading Trojans. Yeah, just isolate them. Put them on their own network. They can't even go. Ooh. I'm getting a pop quiz from Space Tacos. What is 60818? That is the destination port. So you don't actually communicate. How in the weeds am I allowed to get?
I mean, this is Security Plus. We've got people that are trying to soak it all in. So you be the judge. I mean, the person's asking a question, so I would say,
So destination ports are typically dynamically assigned. So you're not going to have port 80 communication going to port 80 in your network. Basically what happens is your computer scratches its head for it scratches its head for a second, and it goes, I want to use this port. And it's not a specified port like the common used ports, which are anything below 1,000. But you have a dynamic address range, a dynamic port range, rather, where it will just pull a port, and that's the port for the TCP communication.
And to piggyback off of that, something that I want you Security Plus layers to get used to understanding is you hear ports and services. What's really going on when we see port is we're saying what is the service that is running on that port, right? So understand ports and services, and they're not always.
They're not. Yeah, you don't
You
have
can
to
have web traffic
service
not running on 80 or 443, right? You can have there's just not always a port is assigned at the firewall, he says.
Oh, I'm sorry. As I said, I do get things wrong. The port assigned at the firewall. That makes sense because it's doing your address translation, right? So it's assigning the port.
60% of you slayers were correct with the correct answer of a download was blocked from a web server. The traffic flow from the web server port number 80 to the device port of 6818 indicates that this traffic flow originated on port 80 from the web server. A file download is one of the most common ways to deliver a Trojan. And this log entry shows that the file containing the xpack.a Trojan was blocked.
So,
And
Jesse, why is that coming from a web server?
what do you mean?
Why is it coming from a web server?
As
What
opposed
in
to
that what in that log tells us it came from a web server and it wasn't something else?
to me, the port 80.
That correct. Yeah. So if you see 80 or 443 or even 8080, that's typically web server traffic.
Which of the following would be the best way to provide a website login using existing credentials from a third-party site? You do this all the time, and you probably don't even realize it. A, federation. B, 802.1x. C, EAP, or extensible authentication protocol. Yep. Or SSO, which is single sign-on. Which is part of the reason we do Slay Security Plus. It's to help me stay on top of the acronyms and what's going on, because it's easy to be like, oh, I got Security Plus. Now I got the PJPT. Oh, trying for the PNPT. Now I'm studying for CISP, and you kind of fundamentals. Fundamentals. Oh, I can't. I should never do that again.
You choking on a frog over there, Yoda?
Which of the following would be the best way to provide login credentials using from a third-party site? You do this all the time, right? You go to log in on something brand new, and it gives you the ability to use your Gmail password credentials, or you can use your Instagram credentials or your LinkedIn credentials to sign in to something else. There is a specific technology that allows that to happen. We use it all the time.
Now, two of these, it's funny because I had to actually think about it for a second. Two of these go hand in hand. The other two are not relevant to this question.
Which I have had I've had this question come up. What's the difference between? Well, we'll talk about it when we get to the answer because I don't want to give it away.
Yeah. Give it a few more seconds if you want to start the countdown. I think everybody's answered anyways, though. Looks like 16 out of 16. Some nice elevator pop music.
It's all coming through my speakers, which is weird. All right, let's go. Ah, see, good. This is a great place to have some review. Well, make sure I'm thinking correctly before I start rattling off. Correct, federation. Okay, so there is a difference between federation or federated servers or federated access versus single sign-on. Single sign-on is this process where you sign on the one time and it uses that credential to, so you don't have to sign in a bunch of times, right? We've probably used that before. What this question is asking is, how do you sign on to one thing using something else's credentials? And that process is called federation. Whenever you see some keywords that would lead you to believe that it's a federated question, would be like radius server, right? If we're talking Cisco, when you look at TaxAS plus federation, think of, let's use a mnemonic, right? Something to help remember this, because this is going to come up on the test. At least on my test, I saw a question that was, I mean, Professor Messer, come on, man. I mean, it was almost word for word this question. Understanding that, think of a federation. Think of a whole thing, I don't know, think of all of your friends, like a federation, a group of people. And you've got a really good relationship with one of your friends, right? And you want to sign on, you want to hang out with one of your other friends, but they're brand new to you. So you go and you say, well, I'm going to use these credentials that I have with my one friend because it's a federated server where we're all a group that we're all working together. And I'm going to use those credentials and I'm going to sign on because my friend trusts the other friend, right? So just little ways to kind of get that locked into your head. And when I think of single sign-on, you can think of that as the one-time sign-on where you're signed in and it signs you into your other services. Because remember, when we sign on, you sign on for the one service, and you might have other things that you need to sign into for the day, right? That single sign-on allows you to sign on the one time and be locked and loaded.
I'm going to give you a really easy example here. So single sign-on works for one domain and grants you access to multiple resources.
Boom, thank you.
Federation uses one domain's authentication to access resources across domains.
Yes.
So think of single sign-on. When you sign into Google, if you have a Gmail, you can go to the Google Slides, you can go to their Excel, you can go to their version of Word, you can do everything. You don't have to sign in every single time. You sign in once, and then you have access to everything. However, with Federation, it's more like being able to get into a club because a bouncer talked to a bouncer, and the other bouncer said, yeah, he goes to this club all the time, and we know that's the legit account. Or that's the legit person. Sorry, I lost my metaphor there.
No, the Rich 464 has a good point too. Single sign-on equals Google login. Federated uses Google to log in on LinkedIn. That's it. And you may even get like an example similar to that. Joseph, you want to take away this question?
Sure. So a recent audit has found that existing password policies do not include any restriction on password attempts, and users are required to periodically change their passwords. Which of the following would... Oh, users are not required to periodically change their passwords. I had to stop for a second and actually reread. I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound like an issue. They have to change their passwords. Which of the followings would correct these policy issues out of password complexity, password expiration, password reuse, account lockout, password managers? You have to pick two. So an audit has found that with the existing policy, you do not have any restrictions on how many times you can put in a password. And you do not have to change your password ever.
Carl.
So,
is an audit a pen test, Joseph? Is an audit and a pen test the same thing?
No.
Is a vulnerability scan and a pen test the same thing?
No, they're not.
Is a vulnerability scan and an audit the same thing?
No, but they're all used together in a way. Pen tests are typically external. There are such thing as internal pen tests. But an audit is really just going over the controls. You would use a vulnerability scan to identify weaknesses. And then a pen test is testing the controls to make sure everything's working the way it's supposed to.
Can you break them with the vulnerabilities that you found, right? Pen testing takes that vulnerability scanning one step further and says, hey, we've identified them. And then some companies say, okay, just remediate. Give me another vuln scan, get that attested, which means get that confirmed and send it back so that we're in compliance. You can take it to the next level and you can say, hey, I see these vulnerabilities and I believe we can, mitigate them, but I want to see if they can actually be exploited. The object of penetration testing is taking those vulnerabilities that you see and actually trying to get in and break the system, right?
So out of these five, two of these would fix the errors that you're going through and you're seeing right now.
So do not include any restrictions on password attempts. Well, attempts means how many times we've all been there in our digital lives where you do it the fourth time or whatever and it says locked out, see your system administrator, or locked out, try again later, right? That's account lockout. I'm kind of going to give you the answers on this one because let's look at that. I've tried too many times. There are no, and these are things that if we were looking at our Active Directory network, you physically can click them on or off. You can click on password complexity on or off. You can click on password expiration on or off. It's not just something that's a set it and forget it. You can have frameworks and you can have templates, but it's still something you need to know, like what's going on here. And users are not required to periodically. When you think periodically, you should be thinking time. Associate the word periodically with time. Well, if we know that any restrictions on password attempts has to do with lockouts and periodically has to do with time, that takes off complexity because complexity and time aren't together. Password reuse doesn't fit periodically change their passwords, but we see this expiration. Expiration is another word that has to do with time. So these are just some exam hacks as you're taking it. Yes, understand the concept, but sometimes you can just use your own little thesaurus in your brain of knowing what words means to answer the questions, right? We see periodically, that's a time. We see expiration, that's a time. Just objectively speaking, those two click in my head, right?
You want a great lab, by the way? Great pretty simple lab to set up. Set up a simple little AD environment, and you can go in and you can do this. You can go to what is called group policy. I can never remember what the O stands for, but it's GPO. You go to group policy, and you can set your lockout rules. You can set your password complexity rules. You can set everything in there, and you can learn how the GPO tree looks, and you can figure out where everything is. I'm sure there's tutorials out there. And if there's not, I might go make some.
You know what? YOLO.
Group policy objects. That's it.
YOLO.
Yeah, I never remember what the O stands for. It's objects, but I always call it GPO. So you forget the word.
Let's see if we can. Bear with me. This may or may not work. Firewall first.
You start saying acronyms so much that you forget the real thing. Like I for a long time I forgot what CVE stood for. I say it every day. It's just what it is now. It's like, yeah, I know what a CVE is.
Let that get going. And I don't think, let's go to our server here. Get a domain controller fired up. I don't remember. Do I remember the passwords for these things? Oh, I don't remember if I remember my passwords.
Before you get in the weeds with this, I will notify that we do only have half an hour left. This may be great for a different stream.
I'm YOLOing it though.
I know.
Mentioned group policy, which made me think of Active Directory. We'll let this.
It's a great lab. It's a great lab. If you can remember the password, let's do it. But if you have to brute force your password on stream.
Well, it was for a lab, so I'm sure it's like admin or.
Oh, I'm sure. Dude, my VMs that I don't always use have crappy passwords. I think my Kali box has its default password right now.
It's Kali, baby.
It doesn't even touch the internet. So
I hate having no wait to get into Kali.
Yeah.
This is a free lab, by the way. All of this that I'm doing is absolutely free, right? I got the whatever it's called. I always forget the word, where you're trying to see if you like it.
Oh, it's evaluation.
Evaluation. This is the evaluation. Or you can't actually do Command Alt and Delete, and so we'll give it this.
Try admin. Oh, is this from your TCM practice?
This is from me looking at. This is just honestly from me this is interview practice. There we go. Got a SQL Server domain controller 1. Is that me?
I think that's the password. The password secure password special. That's how I always call that. The password.
Get credit card info for a wifey. See, you just kind of.
So long as your credit card info isn't written in there somewhere. Carl!
Hi, we need that sound effect. What did we say it was? Oh, exclamation
yeah, I
point.
think you got some white
Oh,
space.
okay. $$ W 0 RD exclamation point. Here we go.
Joseph did look scared for a minute. Yeah, because I didn't know what the hell he had in there. I was like, is he about to dox himself? What is he doing?
Probably. Thanks for looking out, because that is something that I can 100% do. All right, we are looking at a domain controller interface. This is a Windows server. It's a server that's set up 2019, right? Yep, 2019. On this server, I set up a certificate services. I set up a domain services, a DHCP server, a DNS, and file and storage.
One server. Shame on you.
What? Oh yeah. What am I so? Don't even go there. We're gonna nerd out for a second. Sorry, folks. See, we see this manage. Now we can see add roles and features. We can see tools. Now we can start to look at maybe some group policy management. So we can scroll down to group policy, right? And this is really high level stuff. We're not really getting into it like we probably should, but now we can look at the domains. We see this AD lab, right? You can see.
Fun fact: the root of that is called the forest, and all of these are called trees. if you want a fun little technical.
Yeah,
Forest
forest
trees.
trees, and then at a bigger level, then what is it? What's bigger than the forest? It's
The domain.
Yep.
Isn't it? Yeah.
But at any rate, this is stuff that I'm just showing you this as a proof of concept more than anything. Get out there and do the work, man. This was free and it took, I don't know, an hour and a half to spin up. Get yourself some servers set up, understand DNS, what it does, understand what DHCP does, right? And you can do this really simply. What's up?
Can you go into the GPO and show people where you can set account lockout policies?
Yeah, it'll take me a second to think.
Is
it under trusts or is
so
it?
Go back to GPO, group policy. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Go into forests. I can't full screen over here; it's all blurry. Here we go. I'm getting whitewashed. Go to, let's see,
domains. Right.
Go to you should be able to right click somewhere on the, I think on the forest. It's been a while since I've been doing this.
Create group policy in this domain and link it here. Link an existing GPO, group policy modeling wizard.
I believe it's the top one, create a GPO in this domain. Yeah. And then you should be able to edit it. I haven't done this lab in a couple years, and I don't work with AD very often, so
oh look, authenticated users.
Go to group policy objects in the tree, left, down.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, expand that. Yeah, here you go. This is where your domain policies
Here we go.
are.
Yep.
So
default domain policy.
Yep.
Domain admins.
There should be a way. I haven't done this in forever. I bet you someone in the chat is screaming it. Someone has an answer. Nope. All right. You should be able to right click it. I know right clicking is involved. It has been so long. Go to right click the default domain policy.
What?
Yeah, that's where you can view it. But
right. So here's just
the policy
before we change it. But it's good to here's some things that we're looking at, like enforce user logon restrictions enabled. Enforce password history, 24 passwords, right? Password A's, complexity requirements enabled.
Yep.
When I set up a lab, I try and make them so that I actually have to hack into them, not just turn off antivirus and go crazy. I try and make them so that we're kind of actually trying to hack into stuff.
Can you right click the default domain policy? Edit. This is what I'm looking for.
There we go.
Right. So you should be able to go to user configuration policies. Go in the tree, or you can do it that way. Then I believe it's
Windows settings, isn't it? Yep. Security settings, scripts.
Yeah. No, I think we're in the wrong tree. I think it's in computer configuration. I always get these mixed up. Can you go to computer configuration policies? I guess it's not. Where is it? I know it's in the account policies, and then it's password policies, wherever that is. I just gotta find it. Computer config, policies, Windows settings. Oh yeah, it's in Windows settings. I always have to Google it. I'm not gonna lie. I don't work with AD often, so when I'm
you're good. No, this is great. And we can really get really nasty with it and just do it from PowerShell, right?
Oh, here we go. Yeah, look in account policies at the top.
Password policy.
There you are. There you are.
No, now we can start playing with our different. Look at this. Now we're setting group policy, and this is going to effectively affect all the other computers that are on the domain, right? So if
what's great is that 3 years ago I could have done that in like 30 seconds.
If you'd have had me do this,
man,
I don't know, 6 months ago when this is what I did for my everyday job, it just takes a second. Remember, if you don't lose it, you will. If you don't use it,
you lose it. Yeah.
Staying on top of.
Or you can chat GPT. FedEx knows it. Yeah. That wasn't an option when I started college. ChatGPT wasn't a thing, and I was learning off of Server 2016. Actually, I did some learning on 2012 too, which I hated.
All right, but this is just the beauty of having fun. And like, honestly, I would just set this up and just have fun with it. Like,
Explore. You don't even
explore.
have to set up secure things. Just figure
Don't-
out where things are. Don't be me. Don't
So
forget
be
where
like,
your password policies are.
computers. What are computers? What's a domain controller? What are groups? Malwario. I wonder what that is. That's weird. That doesn't look like something that was there before.
Yeah.
Malwario.
Know where things are.
You can tell I've been in here. Administrator Carl Doe, Crypto Bro, Domain Admin Jane Doe, SQL Service. You're like, well, how do I build a new user? What am I doing here? Let's see. Okay, computer, group, contact. Oh, is this maybe how I add new users? All right, let's go. Let's add a new user to our domain right here. We're gonna go Joseph, no initial, C, right? User logon name. We'll go JCAD. Right, so now we've got their JCAT at AD Lab. That's going to be their sign-on. Now look, now we can start setting our policy. I know this is really small for you guys, but this is like this is doing the work, right? So now we're going to create Joseph's really terrible policy, and you can make them really terrible passwords if you want. Administrators that aren't keeping up, right? User must change password at next login. Nah. User cannot change password. Nah. Password never expires. Account is disabled.
Oh, that account is disabled one. You can learn where that is. If you just decide to go to a help desk, you're gonna be there. You're gonna have to uncheck that box a lot.
All right, so we're setting up a brand new user from scratch, and then we would go in and we on the Kali box. You know, use some of this stuff you're gonna know, but as far as like having an idea of what the credentials already are.
Real quick, Chris Whitlock wants to know where you got the resources to set this up. So, VirtualBox first and foremost. Now you can use VMware as well because you can get it personally for free. That is your hypervisor.
There it is. Thank you, FedEx. And I'll drop the link again. The link to the steps to set it up are kind of all over the internet. I used Benjamin Heater's AD lab environment because I wanted to send something up that was not just like 2 computers on an AD network. I wanted to have a firewall with rules and understand that all from absolute scratch. And so that's what we did.
I unfortunately don't have any good resources like where you can go to find a pre-built lab that you just go through and set up yourself. I did all mine through college and then of course work when I was in help desk.
None of this is pre-built. This is all from scratch. And
no, I'm saying like a framework that tells you, okay, now you can create an AD and this is how you set it up. I don't have any resources like that.
I like this one a ton. The external pen test practice in a VirtualBox AD lab. This is very similar to what we have, where we have the Kali box, and then I have I think 3 or 4 what we call dual homed devices, meaning that I have one, like let's just say I've got a web server and it is internet facing, but it also has access to an internal environment. So that is my pivot box, right? So if you can compromise whatever it is, whatever that box is, you can compromise that. Then from there, we're going to pivot into our internal Active Directory lab. We're going to run Responder. We're going to run man-in-the-middle 6 attacks. We're going to run DYC attacks. We're going to run some Kerber roasting. But I'm going to drop this link. We'll get back to the questions.
Yeah, sorry about that rabbit hole, folks.
Sorry about that rabbit hole, but like this is how you do it, man. This is how you have fun with it. And then you can go back and you can go to your firewall.
But that is definitely good things to know. You should know how to use AD. Probably a little bit more familiar than I do at this point because it's been so long. AD is great for entry-level roles. Being able to audit AD, oh man. I know how to audit the hell out of AD.
It's really straight. There is some. I'm sure you do too. But
yeah,
that's like
knowing how to audit AD is a solid skill. Knowing your best practices, and they have. This is getting into GRC, so I'm going to start speaking out of my swim lane. But I'm pretty sure CIS and NIST all have best practices of how you should set up a user's accounts and how you enable MFA and whatnot.
Right. And so like if we were to put on this dual homed Academy network, it actually speaks to, as I have it dual homed, which means it's speaking to my Active Directory network, but it's also a public facing vulnerable box. I got that off of VulnHub or And then you can see I took snapshots, firewall pre-AD lab. I did this was my pre-Privesc on a pen test I was doing. Taking a snapshot before I did privilege escalation in case I broke something, because I break things all the time.
Yep. Yeah, that's a part of the job, breaking stuff. You don't have to be a pen tester to break things. You can do it on accident, which is what happens all the time.
So when you're doing this pfSense firewall, and this is great for your networking knowledge, you don't just set up the firewall. You have to first, before you can even go to the like GUI, you've got to use the pfSense speak. And it's not, I'm not a genius. This is all really not to diminish. It's really easy and it's publicly available information. You just have to have the willingness to learn it and have some trial and error. But you got to go through and you actually need to configure each virtual, right? Each VLAN. We've got 3, 10, 24, as you can see though, but like configure it. You rock.
Christopher, the thing that brought us here, what started the rabbit hole was talking about policies, about password lockout and whatnot. So did we explain why those were the right answers? I feel like we did, but
we did. That's what led me to the AD. That's what made me go Active Directory. All right, we still have the same amount of viewers, which makes me happy. We didn't lose any. Let's take a quick pause. I want to thank our study session sponsor, simplycyber.io. You know Dr. Jerry Ozier, mentor, teacher, friend. I'm gonna let the mid-roll here speak for itself.
Are you feeling lost in the vast world of cybersecurity, overwhelmed by technical jargon and confusing career paths? You're not alone. That's why I built Simply Cyber. Hi, I'm Dr. Gerald Ozier. Come join Simply Cyber, your supportive and inclusive community for navigating the exciting world of cyber. There's so much to take advantage of. Master the skills you need with Simply Cyber Academy, offering in-depth courses aligned with the GRC analyst role. Never feel isolated. Connect with fellow cyber enthusiasts and professionals in our thriving Discord server. Ask questions, get feedback, share your journey. Check out the Simply Cyber YouTube channel, delivering insightful interviews. What are your thoughts around, web app pen testing as entry level? And I included Bug Bounty here because that's very accessible to everybody. Practical skill demos and daily cyber threat briefs, all hosted by industry experts. There's so much more to discover. Are you ready to join the community and empower your future? Visit simplycyber.io/socials for all the links and start your cyber adventure today.
Boom. Thank you, Dr. Jerry Ozier, for sponsoring
Awesome Jerry is.
Dude.
What a great initiative. I know, we're mods, we're biased.
I know, but it's just inspiring. It just truly is inspiring.
He managed to take something nerdy like GRC and actually make it kind of cool.
GRC rocks. What were the answers for the last question? Oh, the answers were account lockout and expiration.
Yep, account lockout and password expiration. Those would be the two that you want to make sure you have in place to fix the things that they mentioned.
And we can go back and review those questions maybe on Nextday Security Plus. I got long-winded. I'm super excited to be with everybody tonight, and I'm sorry I let time get away from me. Not bad host. We down the Active Directory rabbit hole.
What makes this fun?
That makes it fun. But with that being said, Joseph, this has to be my last question. I can hear the family out there getting hungry and restless.
I can hear me getting hungry.
I can hear me. I'm starving. I don't know what we're gonna do tonight. Let's do one more question. Actually, we're going to pause on questions. I want to give you guys some resources, some actual resources. Let's start with some GRC resources. PCI DSS, you need to learn those. Be familiar with PCI DSS. Understand the changes.
Why, Jesse? What's PCI DSS?
PCI DSS. PSI stands for the payment card industry that composes of, really, it's the main credit card. So MasterCard, Visa started it, later joined by American Express and JCB. They said, we got to figure out a way to have some kind of policy framework. Remember, cybersecurity is driven by policy. At the end of the day, you need to know, what do you mean controls? What do we even start from? How do I even secure? What does an audit look like? You could do a audit on your home network, right? What are the processes of an audit? Well, that's a great point. What are the processes of an audit? Well, first, we'll ignore the govern part. You need to identify it. Let's identify, what are my assets? Well, even in your home, you've got a router of some kind. You've got a smart TV and a smart fridge. Let's just say those are your 3 assets, right? Now we need to protect them. We need to manage the access. Well, what does that look like, right? And so now we've got an idea of a framework, And now we can start to map those out and set controls along to the framework. And if you do an audit, you could say, okay, this is what it's supposed to be. And this is what you have. In the middle, we have a gap. We need to fix those things. Getting used to things like Sentinel, understanding query languages. And this is all just things that I recommend. You don't have to learn them all in one night, but have an understanding of what a query language is, whether it's KQL, SQL, I don't know, Splunk query language, like lots of others, right? Have ChatGPT up and running. Incident response. Well, how does that play into all of this, right? Preparation, detection and analysis, containment, eradication, and recovery, or post-incident activity. You may get asked about those things in a job interview coming up, right? Understanding these steps of incident response, even at the basic level for your small business or your home network. Understanding, well, I prepare. What's the preparation? Before an incident starts, the whole thing, you need to be prepared, right? So we've got people, policies, procedures, tools, training. And now we have identification, right? Now we're looking at like, oh boy, something happened. Unusual processes, unusual security events. We start looking at those indicators of compromise, right? Oh boy, we have determined there is a compromise. Well, what's the next step? Most people, as John Strand, they don't want to touch it. They don't want to touch it because they don't want to make it any worse. Well, you got to contain it. You got to stop the bleeding somehow, right? And then we go into the eradication, root cause. We see root cause analysis or root causes 1, remove the malware, rescan the network, white build format. This is the SANS incident response. Then recovery. We want to get back to our baseline. We want to get operations up and running again. Then after that, immediately upon the recovery phase, we go into the lessons learned, which is probably, in my opinion, the most important part. Where did we F up, Carl? Where did we get it wrong in protecting our network?
Jesse, what's your favorite phase of the incident response lifecycle?
Because I mean, being a former cop, I really like the containment part, that responding to it. Like, okay, what do we do now? Everybody's freaking out, and you're the guy that gets to walk into the room and be like, here, just sit down. You put in your classical music, like on Boondock Saints, crack your neck.
Deep cut.
Right? No, but I really enjoy. And then being that I've fallen madly in love with auditing, pen testing, I think GRC and pen testing are cousins. I love it all, but really like that containment, that incident response part. And then the preparation part, the people, the policies, getting people trained, security awareness. That kind of stuff is super fun to me. It's all fun to me.
My favorite phase is lessons learned. That's my favorite phase. I love lessons learned. You know why I love lessons learned? Because now all the bad stuff's over. You know, I came in, or someone came in and fixed the problem, stopped the bleeding, and everything's calm again. And we know that there's no more evil in the network for the next 3 seconds. And I get to sit there with people, and we get to go, how can we prevent this in the future? And you don't make people feel bad. People love ragging on people in lessons learned, like, Carl over there is the one who gave them their password. This is all because of him. No. What we do is we got to say, like, how could you identify next time that this is what was wrong? How can we stop this from happening again? And you want to let them know that it happens. It really does happen.
Like, cybersecurity is protecting your organization and enterprise. Most of what happens is a snapshot in time, and it's always progressing. Like, you're going to get really good at controls and things are going to be great, and then it won't be great. And you've got to continually, that's that continuous improvement part that we see really becoming the governance part. We're seeing, the CSF 2.0 framework. We see that governance now has its place, but the importance of that continuous improvement. Mm-hmm. Good session, folks. Was that fun? I hope you guys enjoyed getting some value out of some, like, just a few real world type of examples. I'd like to do more of those in future Slay Security Plus episodes. Maybe we'll do some actual home lab setups. Maybe we'll do some live hacking, and then we'll go back and we'll just pull up some basic logs. Not even a SIM. Just go into the server and we'll just pull up the event logs on Windows. And maybe we can have Casually Joseph join us for that, and we can talk about from his experience, what he sees, if he would be so kind.
Oh, did you not reveal the last answer?
No, I started it. And I was like, we're not doing any more questions.
Oh, okay. We never
An
actually.
internal audit has discovered 4 servers have not been updated in over a year, and it will take up to 2 weeks
Can
to
you show the
test out
question?
and deploy the latest patches, which will following be the best way to quick. What's up?
Can you show the question?
This is the question. Oh, my bad. I'm all reading
Yeah,
it. Sorry,
yeah.
guys.
We got a professional over here, folks.
An internal audit has discovered 4 servers have not been updated in over a year and will take 2 weeks to test out and deploy the latest patches. Which of the following would be the best way to quickly respond to this situation in the meantime? A, purchase cybersecurity insurance. Love it. B, implement an exception for all data center services. That's a lot of work. C, move the centers to a protected segment. Or D, hire a third party to perform an extensive audit.
That's expensive. Third parties are expensive. I'm telling you right
the
now,
links
if
you
you ever want to
mentioned
make
about
big
sharing-
bucks, third party audits.
Aaron Stone, are we friends? Joseph, I just got your friend request and your message. I hit you back on LinkedIn. Aaron Stone, if we're not friends on LinkedIn, would you drop me a message? I'm going to keep my screen the exact same way it is. And then sometime tonight when I come back in here to lockdown for my own study, I'll get those links out to you. But I don't have the capacity time-wise to get them to you in a way that is beneficial the way that I'd like to get them to you.
All right, so lightning round. Since we're coming to a close, which of the following would be the best way to quickly respond to this situation in the meantime? Because we can't just push patches all willy-nilly. What if we break something? So how do we mitigate this? Let's look at the different answers. You want to go ahead and put the real answer up, and we can explain.
You want to just go through it? Yeah. Oh yeah. Lightning round.
Yeah. Everybody's answered. We're all good.
Okay. Cool. Thank you, Joseph.
Yep. So, yeah. So we're trying to figure out how to. It's going to take us 2 weeks to patch these servers. Why? How can we stop these servers from being pwned in the meantime? Purchase cybersecurity insurance. Well, is purchasing insurance really going to stop the servers from being pwned? Is that going to mitigate what's going on, to use the terminology in the question?
I would call that, from a GRC perspective, risk acceptance.
Actually, it's risk transference.
Oh, transference. Dang it. I knew that.
Yeah, because you're transferring the damages done to somebody else with that policy.
I knew that. I know.
So that's not right. Implement an exception for all data center services. Well, yeah, you could put an exception in, but that doesn't really stop what's going to happen. It actually allows it further. Move the servers to a protected segment. We see that one's right. I'll explain why in a moment. Hire a third party to perform an extensive audit. So hiring a third party to perform an extensive audit would definitely help identify further vulnerabilities. However, that's not going to mitigate any damage done. It's not going to stop anything from happening. It's not going to stop those servers from being exploited. So move the servers to a protected segment. Why is that going to stop it? Well, it's going to stop it. It's going to prevent it, or at least try to help it, by moving it to somewhere where it can't communicate to maybe the World Wide Web, or maybe it can't communicate to the internal network, and you have very strict rules in place saying, like, hey, you can only access these services, and it's going to stop it from being exploited potentially. The correct answer explanation says move the servers to a protected segment. Segmenting the servers for their own protected network would allow additional security controls, like I said, while maintaining the uptime and availability. So yeah, you can crack down on the access control. You can crack down on what's going on and stop it from being exploited. And why I'm going to speak to FedEx real quick. Yes, Microsoft is known for their horrible updates and things breaking. That is why 0 days criticals 10.0s have a week to be patched, because I'm gonna be real with you. If you push Patch Tuesday patches on Patch Tuesday, you're in for a busy week, because we as consumers are Microsoft's testing ground. We get to see what broke when they push the patch and then complain about it so that next week they can do a silent hotfix.
Love you, Microsoft.
Well, many companies
Hey,
do that. That's
Well, I mean, it's like,
because you can't find everything that's going to go wrong with that update.
and I think that's, it's like us jaw jacking, but that's like one of the things I think we get is like, patch it. You gotta patch it. So we want to
gotta
patch
patch it
all
now.
of it. What's the reality that you're going to patch every single known vulnerability within your
I can
enterprise?
tell you what the reality is. 0.
Right.
There's no way you patch everything.
Cyber resiliency.
Yeah. So, and another thing, sometimes you can't patch something because it's going to break a line of business app. They're called LOBs, LOBs, line of business. For instance, say you have a custom SQL app, okay, and it's running off of an old SQL version, and then something updates maybe in Windows where it can't communicate with that old SQL, or maybe something updates in a new version of SQL where your app doesn't work anymore. Well, unless you rebuild your app, you can't patch it right now. So you're going to have to put in compensating controls.
I just love these conversations because it just goes to show how all of this is connected, right? You jumped off for a minute. It just goes to show how all of this is
My
connected.
VPN dropped.
Like, as you study Security Plus, like you just start to see how it just all works together and comes together. I don't know. It's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 6:30 my time. It is time to go. Casually Joseph, thank you for being here, sharing your wisdom, helping with questions, being part of the Slay Security Plus community, one of our resident co-hosts, along with DJ BSEC. I hope you're having fun doing what you're doing with your family and your friends or whoever you're hanging out with. All of you, we'll see you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. my time for the Daily Cyber Threat Brief with Dr. Jerry Ozier. And until I see you again next Thursday, I am Jesse J. You are Slay Security Plus. We'll see you on the next one.